A power struggle. This is how one senior lecturer and a political analyst describes the public back and forth between Deputy Chief Secretary and political leader of the Progressive Democratic Patriots, Watson Duke, and Tobago House of Assembly Chief Secretary Farley Augustine. Ayanna Carter has more in this report.
Senior lecturer of political science at the University of the West Indies, Dr. Bishnu Raghunath, said the public disagreement between Watson Duke and Farley Augustine has no effect on the affairs of the Tobago House of Assembly. Rather, Mr. Duke's actions can be seen as a form of discipline at the party level.
It is a power struggle between Mr. Watson Duke, who is the leader of the PDP, and Mr. Farley Augustine, who is the Chief Secretary. And from the context of it, what this would mean is that the people of Tobago will have to make a decision as to who should they throw their support behind.
A press release from the PDP on Friday confirmed the revocation of the party's 3 deputy political leaders. This follows Mr. Augustine's statements regarding a review of Mr. Duke's position as Deputy Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly at Thursday's post-Executive Council media briefing.
Mr. Farley Augustine is Chief Secretary. In the same way, Mr. Duke could say that I have revoked the appointment of Farley Augustine as Deputy Political Leader. Farley Augustine could revoke the appointment of Watson Duke as Deputy Chief Secretary and just simply put him as a secretary. So it could, because he has that power legally and constitutionally.
Dr. Raghunath said transparency is the key to ensure that Tobago moves past this.
I cannot say what will happen in the future. All I could say is that simply the governance of the THA has been put under scrutiny, as particularly so when somebody or others will start asking the question, who approved $400,000 for this group to go to New York? Where was the accountability and where was the transparency?
Mr. Duke, in a social media post on Tuesday, accused his THA colleagues of neglecting some Tobago performers in New York and called for their support, claiming they failed to do so. Ayanna Carter, TTT News.
The revocation of Farley Augustine as deputy political leader of the Progressive Democratic Patriots has no impact on his position as Chief Secretary. This from former Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, HOCHOY Charles.
If the Constitution said that whoever is the leader of this team will become the Chief Secretary, as soon as they go in there, that's all they will do. But I don't think the Constitution said that. Because Duke is the leader and Duke is not the Chief Secretary. So I don't believe the Constitution said that. So when they come into the House, they would have come in then knowing that, because that is what they were saying during the campaign. We go into the House. We have the majority inside there. Farley, we are going to elect him.
Mr. Charles explained that there is a separation between the party's constitution and the assemblies.
He cannot be removed as Chief Secretary because some leader of a party remove him as deputy in their party. The Constitution, the THA Act says that a vote of no confidence by the elected members, not the councillors, of the elected members are the only way that they can remove him from as Chief Secretary.